when Steve Harvey broke down on Family Feud. It was in response to a contestant who thanked him for saving her marriage. A moment that touched hearts across the nation. In an instant, laughter turned to tears, transforming a game show into a profound lifeline. This isn't just a story about a TV show. It's about the powerful connections we forge and the unexpected ways we can heal our wounds. Join us as we unravel the emotional journey of Sarah, a woman on the brink of losing everything, and discover how a heartfelt moment of gratitude sparked a path to redemption. Meet Sarah, a vibrant woman in her early 30s, whose laughter once echoed joyfully through the halls of her home. She was the heart of her family, a devoted wife to Mark, and a loving mother to two energetic children, Chloe and Ethan. Each day, she balanced the chaos of parenting with the responsibilities of her job, always striving to create a warm and nurturing environment for her family. But behind her warm smile lay a growing darkness. Her marriage was crumbling, and with it, her spirit. As the months passed, the love that once bound Sarah and Mark began to fray. What once felt like an unbreakable bond started to dissolve under the weight of unspoken words and unresolved conflicts. Arguments over trivial matters, like the way Mark loaded the dishwasher or Sarah forgetting to buy milk, spiraled into heated confrontations that left both of them emotionally exhausted. The intimacy they once shared faded, replaced by a cold silence that filled the spaces between them. Sarah felt as though she was drowning in despair, grappling with the harsh reality that her love story might be ending in heartbreak. Every morning, she would wake up to the same heavy feeling in her chest, a reminder of the widening chasm that had grown between her and Mark. The conversations that used to flow effortlessly now felt like navigating a minefield, where every word was carefully chosen to avoid triggering an argument. What had once been a partnership filled with joy and laughter had become a battleground of misunderstandings and resentment. The laughter that once filled their home was replaced with silence, punctuated only by the sound of Chloe and Ethan playing in the background, blissfully unaware of the turmoil that their parents were experiencing. Desperate for a lifeline, Sarah sought help. She suggested couples therapy, hoping it would bridge the emotional gap that had widened between them. However, Mark was resistant, dismissing her concerns as mere stress from work and parenting. He insisted that they could work things out on their own, that their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacles. But each failed attempt to communicate deepened Sarah's sense of isolation. She felt like a ghost in her own home, watching as the love she cherished slipped further away, feeling increasingly invisible and unheard. Despite her efforts, Sarah began to feel like a failure. She questioned her worth, wondering if she was doing enough to save her marriage. The emotional burden was suffocating, and the thought of losing Mark felt like a dark cloud hovering over her every move. Every argument left scars, and every silence echoed with unspoken words of regret. She found herself crying in the shower, hoping the water would wash away her sadness. The mirror reflected a woman who felt trapped, someone who had once radiated confidence, now feeling lost and hollow. In a moment of desperation mixed with hope, Sarah stumbled upon an advertisement for Family Feud. Something about the idea of being on stage, surrounded by laughter and excitement, sparked a flicker of hope within her. Maybe this game show could provide the distraction they needed, a chance to reconnect in a way that didn't involve the heavy weight of their struggles. The thought of laughter and competition was enticing, a welcome break from the tense atmosphere at home. With a heart full of trepidation and anticipation, Sarah filled out the application form, her hands trembling slightly as she wrote down their family details. She imagined the thrill of competing, the joy of shouting out answers alongside Mark, and even the chance to win some money to help with their family expenses. But deep down, she knew this wasn't just about the game. It was about rekindling the spark in her marriage, about finding a way to laugh together again. Little did she know, this decision would set off a chain of events that would change everything. As Sarah prepared for the show, she couldn't shake the feeling that her journey was just beginning. She envisioned the vibrant lights of the studio, the roar of the audience, and the adrenaline rush of being on stage. What awaited her on that stage would test her in ways she never expected, pushing her to confront the very issues she had been trying to avoid, forcing her to communicate openly and honestly with Mark. The journey ahead promised to be challenging, but for the first time in months, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope, a spark that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. As the day of the Family Feud audition approached, Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. Excitement mingled with anxiety, each feeling intensifying as the date drew nearer. She spent hours preparing, not just for the game, but for the possibility of rekindling her relationship with Mark. They had fallen into a routine of avoidance, and she hoped that this experience would push them out of their comfort zones and into a space where they could connect again. On the morning of the audition, Sarah woke up with a mix of nerves and determination. The sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow that felt almost like a sign of encouragement. She dressed carefully, selecting her favorite outfit, a vibrant blue dress that hugged her curves in all the right places. As she applied her makeup, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and reminded herself of the woman she once was, full of life, laughter, and hope. Today, she would embody that spirit again, no matter how awkward or difficult the journey might be. Mark, however, was less enthusiastic about the audition. He had reluctantly agreed to participate, but his lack of excitement was palpable. As they drove to the studio, the air in the car was thick with tension. Sarah tried to break the silence by discussing strategies and possible answers, but Mark responded with short, disinterested replies, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. It was as if the weight of their marital problems had cast a shadow over what should have been a fun adventure. Sarah's heart sank with each dismissive comment, but she clung to the hope that the experience would reignite something between them. When they arrived at the studio, Sarah was struck by the vibrant atmosphere. The bright lights and the buzzing energy of the production crew were infectious. She could feel her nerves starting to dissipate as they checked in and joined other contestants in the waiting area. People were laughing, sharing stories, and forming connections. And for a moment, Sarah felt a sense of belonging. She turned to Mark, hoping to share this feeling. But he remained aloof, scrolling through his phone instead of engaging with the excitement around them. His disinterest stung, but Sarah decided to focus on the positive energy surrounding her. As they moved into the audition room, Sarah's heart raced. The host welcomed them with a warm smile, and the atmosphere was electric. Sarah could see the bright lights of the stage and the familiar game board. The excitement in the room was palpable, and she felt a rush of adrenaline as they began the audition, answering questions and playing mock rounds. In those moments, Sarah found herself laughing and cheering, feeling a spark of joy that had been missing from her life for so long. She glanced over at Mark, hoping to see a flicker of happiness on his face, but he remained stoic, his mind seemingly elsewhere. After the audition, when they stepped off the stage, reality set in again. Mark's expression was one of frustration, and Sarah could sense the familiar distance returning. They stepped outside for a moment of fresh air, and Sarah took a deep breath, trying to find the right words to bridge the gap between them. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, and Sarah felt a sense of urgency to connect with Mark before the moment slipped away. "Mark, I know this isn't easy for you, but I really believe this could help us. We need to reconnect," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. She reached out, placing a hand on his arm, hoping to break through the wall he had built around himself. Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I just don't see how playing a game is going to fix our problems, Sarah. We have real issues to deal with." His tone was sharp, laced, with resentment that stung Sarah deeply. "I know," she replied, her heart sinking. "But maybe this is a step. We can have fun and remember why we fell in love in the first place. It doesn't have to be about the game. It can be about us." She searched his eyes for any sign of understanding, but found only a wall of resistance. He looked at her, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. But then he turned away, shaking his head. "I don't know if that's enough. We can't just pretend everything's okay because we're playing a game." Feeling the weight of his words, Sarah's heart ached. She wanted more than anything to break through the walls that had built up between them. She realized that their journey together would require more than just a game show. It would take effort, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the underlying issues that had pushed them apart. It would involve digging deep into their emotions and addressing the pain that had become a part of their everyday lives. As they drove home, the silence was deafening. Sarah's mind raced with thoughts and emotions. She had hoped that this experience would ignite a spark between them, but instead, it felt like they were further apart than ever. Yet, in her heart, she still clung to the belief that this was just the beginning of their journey. They had taken the first step by participating in the audition, and perhaps, with time, they could build on that foundation. That night, as she lay in bed, Sarah reflected on the day. She thought about the laughter they had shared during the audition, the thrill of competing, and the possibility of a brighter future. She realized that while the show was a fun distraction, the real work was just beginning. They needed to find a way to communicate, to open up about their fears and frustrations, and to rediscover the love that had initially brought them together. With renewed determination, Sarah resolved to take small steps toward rebuilding their relationship. She would focus on creating moments of joy, laughter, and connection, starting with the next family game night. If they could play together, maybe they could learn to communicate better too. She envisioned a game night filled with laughter, friendly competition, and moments of genuine connection, where they could let go of their frustrations and simply enjoy each other's company. As she closed her eyes, Sarah imagined the vibrant atmosphere of their living room, filled with the sound of laughter and playful banter. She pictured Chloe and Ethan joining in, their laughter echoing off the walls as they played silly games together. If they could foster that spirit of joy and playfulness in their home, perhaps it would seep into her relationship with Mark as well. And with that thought, Sarah drifted off to sleep, dreaming of a future where laughter filled their home once again, a future where the love between her and Mark could be revived, stronger than ever before. Sarah woke up the next day with a sense of renewed purpose. The sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across her room, and she felt a spark of hope flickering within her. Today was the day she had decided to initiate a family game night. a chance to bring laughter back into their home and hopefully bridge the gap between her and Mark. She envisioned a relaxed atmosphere filled with fun, a stark contrast to the heaviness that had settled over their lives in recent months. After breakfast, Sarah began to prepare for the evening. She rummaged through the closet, searching for board games that had collected dust over the years. Memories flooded back, of laughter shared, playful banter, and the sound of Chloe and Ethan's squeals of delight. She found a stack of games, Scrabble, Uno, and a trivia game that had always sparked friendly competition. Each game held a story, a moment frozen in time when their family was united by laughter. With each game she set aside, hope blossomed in her heart, and she felt a determination to reclaim that joy. As the day wore on, she decided to involve the kids in the preparations. She called Chloe and Ethan into the living room, excitedly explaining her plan for game night. Their eyes lit up with joy, and they jumped at the chance to help. Chloe suggested making popcorn and setting up a snack station with candy and drinks, while Ethan insisted on creating a scoreboard to keep track of the winners. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest as they worked together, laughing and joking about who would emerge as the champion of the night. "Mom, can we have pizza for dinner?" Chloe asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We can have pizza and then play games." "That sounds like a great idea," Sarah replied, already imagining the delicious aroma filling the house. "Let's order some pizzas and make it a real party." Later in the afternoon, Sarah approached Mark, who was sitting on the couch, absorbed in his phone, a frown creasing his forehead. She took a deep breath, summoning her courage. "Hey, I'm planning a game night for us tonight. I thought it might be a fun way to unwind and reconnect as a family. What do you think?" Mark looked up slowly, his expression unreadable. "A game night? Really? Is that supposed to fix everything?" His tone was laced with skepticism, and for a moment, Sarah's heart sank. But she quickly reminded herself of her resolve. She believed in the power of shared moments, of laughter that could heal wounds. "I know it won't fix everything, but I believe it could help us relax and enjoy each other's company again. We used to have so much fun playing games together. Can we at least give it a try?" Sarah asked, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I suppose I can join, but I'm not making any promises that it will change anything." His words were tinged with resignation, and Sarah felt a mix of relief and apprehension. At least he was willing to participate. "That's all I ask. Just come and have fun with us," she replied, hoping her enthusiasm would be enough to pull him in. As evening approached, the living room transformed into a cozy game space. Sarah lit a few candles, creating a warm ambiance that filled the room with a soft glow. She arranged the snacks on the table, bowls of popcorn, chips, and candy, creating a colorful spread that looked inviting and festive. Chloe and Ethan helped set up the games, their laughter ringing through the house as they eagerly anticipated the fun that lay ahead. When Mark finally walked into the room, he found the children bouncing with energy and Sarah beaming with anticipation. "Welcome to game night," she declared, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Mark raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical but trying to hide it. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and Sarah felt a flicker of hope that tonight might be the turning point they needed. They decided to start with Uno, a game that was always a favorite among the kids. As they played, Sarah encouraged everyone to be playful and competitive, reminding them that the point was to have fun. Laughter erupted as Chloe dramatically threw down a wild card, declaring herself the winner of the round. Even Mark cracked a smile at her antics, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt a surge of joy. However, as the game progressed, Sarah noticed Mark retreating again. He became quiet and withdrawn, his focus drifting as he gazed out the window. It was as if he was physically present, but emotionally miles away. Sarah's heart sank as she realized that while the kids were enjoying the games, Mark seemed disengaged, a shadow of the man she once knew. "Hey, Mark, your turn," Sarah called, trying to pull him back into the moment. He looked up, startled, and quickly played his card. The tension in the room shifted slightly, but Sarah could sense that he was still holding back, still battling his own inner turmoil. After several rounds of Uno, they decided to switch to Scrabble. This game always sparked a bit of friendly rivalry, and Sarah hoped it would engage Mark more. As they settled in, she encouraged everyone to think of the biggest words they could create, adding an air of competition to the game. Chloe, trying to impress her parents, played the word amazing for a substantial score, and Ethan cheered, "That's awesome, Chloe." Mark, who had been relatively quiet, suddenly perked up. "Yeah, but have you tried using quizzaciously?" he quipped, a smirk spreading across his face. Sarah felt a rush of joy at his playful banter. It was a glimpse of the man she had fallen in love with. As the game continued, the atmosphere began to lighten. Mark exchanged playful jabs with the kids, and Sarah found herself laughing along with them. The tension that had hung in the air started to dissipate, replaced by warmth and shared joy. Mark even began to share stories from his childhood about how his family used to play games together, reminiscing about the hilarious moments that had shaped his youth. But just as Sarah felt a glimmer of hope, Mark's phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. He glanced at it, his expression changing instantly, and the lightheartedness in the room dimmed. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, standing up and stepping away from the table. Sarah's heart sank again as she watched him walk away, feeling the distance grow once more. The kids looked at her, their excitement dimming as they sensed her disappointment. "Mom, is everything okay?" Chloe asked, her eyes wide with concern. "It's fine, sweetie. Just a work call," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. But inside she felt a wave of frustration. This wasn't how she had envisioned the night going. She wanted to create memories, to reconnect. But it felt like Mark was slipping away again. Just then, Ethan leaned over and whispered, "Do you think Dad is okay?" "I hope so, buddy," Sarah replied softly, ruffling his hair. Sometimes adults have a lot on their minds. After a few minutes, Mark returned, his demeanor still distracted. He sat back down, but the spark from earlier had faded. They resumed the game, but the energy was different, more forced than before. As the game continued, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this game night was a microcosm of their relationship. Moments of joy overshadowed by the weight of unaddressed issues. When the final scores were tallied, Sarah was surprised to find that Chloe had won, followed closely by Ethan. "Congrats, Chloe," Sarah cheered, pulling her daughter into a hug. Mark offered a half-hearted smile, but Sarah could sense that he was still mentally elsewhere. As the children celebrated their victory, Sarah glanced at Mark, hoping for some sign of engagement, some acknowledgement of the joy that had filled the room. But his eyes were distant, and she felt a pang of disappointment. As the evening came to a close, Sarah felt a mix of emotions swirling within her. They had shared laughter and smiles, but the underlying tension remained. Mark had been present in body, but his heart felt miles away. She realized that while the game night had been a step in the right direction, It was clear that they needed to confront the deeper issues that lay beneath the surface. That night, as Sarah lay in bed, she reflected on the evening. She thought about the laughter they had shared during the games, the thrill of competition, and the moments of genuine connection. But she also recognized the reality that would not be easy to face. She realized that their journey would require more than just playful games. It would take honest conversations, vulnerability, and a willingness to face the uncomfortable truths that had driven them apart. With renewed determination, Sarah resolved to take small steps toward rebuilding their relationship. She would focus on creating moments of joy, laughter, and connection. But she also knew that they would eventually need to sit down and talk openly about their feelings, their disappointments, frustrations, and hopes. With that thought in her mind, Sarah drifted off to sleep, dreaming of a future where laughter filled their home once again, a future where they could face their challenges together, stronger as a family, and perhaps rediscover the love that had brought them together in the first place. The following morning dawned bright and clear, yet Sarah felt a heaviness lingering in the air. The laughter from the previous night's game night echoed in her mind, but so did the shadows of Mark's disengagement. As she prepared breakfast, the smell of sizzling bacon filled the kitchen, yet it couldn't quite mask the tension that hung between them. She glanced at the clock, mentally counting down the hours until she could talk to him. She knew the moment would be crucial, a turning point that could either deepen the chasm between them or begin to heal it. After breakfast, Sarah took a moment to gather her thoughts. She wanted to approach the conversation delicately, knowing that Mark had been under stress at work and that their relationship had suffered as a result. As she sipped her coffee, she recalled moments from their past. When they first met at that coffee shop downtown, their wedding day filled with love and laughter, and the countless evenings spent with friends and family. Those memories felt like a lifeline, a reminder of the love that had once united them and the bond that still had the potential to flourish. When Mark finally emerged from the bedroom, Sarah took a deep breath. He looked tired, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights and long hours at work. The lines on his forehead seemed deeper than she remembered, and she could see the tension in his shoulders as he moved through the kitchen, pouring a cup of coffee without acknowledging her presence. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Yet her heart raced with fear and uncertainty. "Mark, can we talk?" Sarah asked, her voice steady but gentle, hoping to break through the emotional wall that had built up around him. He paused, slowly turning to face her, his expression guarded. "About what?" he replied, his tone flat, like the calm before a storm. "About last night," she started, her heart pounding in her chest. "I know things have been difficult for us lately, and I thought that game night might help us reconnect. But I felt like you were still distant." Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration, a gesture that had become all too familiar. "I don't know what you want me to say, Sarah. I'm trying, but it's hard to just flip a switch and act like everything is fine." His voice was tinged with a mixture of sadness and anger, and Sarah felt her heart ache for him. "I don't want you to act like everything is fine," she replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "I want us to be honest with each other about how we're feeling. I miss you, Mark. I miss the way we used to be." He looked at her, and for a moment, Sarah thought she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes, a hint of the warmth that had once radiated between them. "I miss that too, but I don't know how to get back there. It feels like we're stuck in this cycle of pretending." he admitted, his voice softer now, as if he were allowing himself to be vulnerable for the first time in a long while. Then let's break the cycle, Sarah urged, stepping closer to him, her heart racing with a mix of hope and fear. Let's talk about what's really bothering us. We can't keep avoiding it. Mark's expression hardened again, and Sarah could sense the walls going up. What's the point? It's just going to turn into another argument, he said, his voice rising, frustration flaring. Maybe it will, but at least we'll be talking about it instead of letting it fester, Sarah replied, her frustration boiling beneath the surface. I can't keep feeling like I'm talking to a stranger. I need my husband back. The tension in the room crackled like electricity as they faced each other. Mark took a step back, running a hand over his face, visibly torn between his emotions. You think I'm not trying? I'm working long hours, dealing with deadlines, and I come home to find us in this mess. It's exhausting. I know it's exhausting, but we can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not, Sarah said, her voice rising in intensity. We need to address the issues that are tearing us apart, not just sweep them under the rug. Mark looked conflicted, his brow furrowing as he processed her words. What do you want me to say, Sarah? That I'm unhappy? That I feel overwhelmed? That I don't know how to fix this? His voice was laced with frustration, but beneath it, Sarah heard a hint of desperation. Yes, I want you to say that. I want to know what you're feeling, Sarah urged, her heart racing. We can't fix anything unless we're honest with each other. Mark stared at her, his defenses slowly crumbling. I feel like I'm drowning, Sarah. I'm trying to keep our family afloat. But it feels like I'm failing at everything. At work, at home, in our marriage. I don't know what to do anymore. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes as she watched him struggle, her heart breaking for him. You're not failing, Mark. We're in this together. We just need to communicate. I want to help you carry that weight, but I can't if you don't let me in. Do you even know what it's like? Mark shot back, his voice rising again. You have your whole routine, your job, your life. I'm the one who's out there, fighting to keep this family together. And it feels like I'm doing it alone. Mark, I know it's hard. I see you working late. I see the stress on your face. But I'm here for you. I want to be your partner, not your enemy. Sarah pleaded, her voice breaking. Let me help you. Let us face this together. Silence filled the room as Mark's expression softened, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. He looked down, his gaze falling to the floor as if he were grappling with his emotions. I just don't want to drag you down with me, he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper, revealing a vulnerability that struck a chord within Sarah. That's not how it works. We're a team, remember? Sarah said gently, stepping closer and placing a hand on his arm. I want to know everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to fight for us. But I can't do it alone. Mark raised his head, and for the first time, Sarah saw the vulnerability in his eyes, the walls he had built around himself starting to crack. I'm scared, Sarah. Scared that I'm not enough. Scared that I'm going to lose you. You're not going to lose me, Sarah reassured him, stepping closer and placing a hand on his arm, her touch grounding him. We're going to work through this together. It won't be easy, but I believe we can find our way back to each other. I believe in us. Mark took a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing as he met her gaze. Okay, he said finally, his voice steadier, a glimmer of hope shining in his eyes. Let's try. Let's try to be honest with each other and see where it leads us. Sarah felt a surge of relief wash over her, a weight lifting from her chest. That's all I ask. We can start small, just talking about our days, our feelings. And if something's bothering us, we address it right away instead of letting it build up. As they stood together, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope. The road ahead would be challenging, but they were finally taking a step in the right direction. "How about we try to make this a regular thing?" she suggested. "A weekly check-in where we can talk openly, no distractions." Mark nodded slowly, a small smile creeping onto his face, a light breaking through the clouds of doubt. "I can do that. I think we both need it." "Great. And maybe we can even plan another game night soon?" Sarah added, her playful spirit returning. "We'll keep building those happy memories." "Yeah, I'd like that," Mark replied, his eyes softening as he looked at her, the warmth of their connection reigniting. "Thank you for being patient with me, Sarah. I know I haven't made it easy. I believe in our love, Mark. We can get through this," she said, feeling a warmth in her chest as they stood together. At that moment, Sarah knew that they were embarking on a journey of healing, a journey that would require hard work, vulnerability, and a willingness to face the past, but one that held the promise of a brighter future. As they moved forward together, Sarah felt hopeful for the first time in a long while. The path ahead would be uncertain, but she was ready to face it with Mark by her side. Together, they would confront the challenges, rediscover their love, and forge a new beginning. Over the next few days, they began to implement their new routine, setting aside time each week for their check-ins. The first one was a mix of nerves and anticipation. They both wanted to be honest, but feared where the conversation might lead. As they sat together on the couch, Sarah felt a knot in her stomach, but she reminded herself of the commitment they had made to each other. "Okay, so how do we start?" Mark asked, his voice a bit uncertain. "Let's just talk about how we've been feeling lately," Sarah suggested, her heart racing. "I can go first if that helps. I've been feeling overwhelmed. Juggling work and the kids has been challenging, and sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough at home." Mark nodded, listening intently. "I can relate to that. I've been feeling the pressure at work, and it's exhausting. I want to be present for you and the kids. But it feels like I'm constantly being pulled in different directions." As they spoke, the conversation flowed more freely than either had anticipated. They shared their struggles, their fears, and even their little victories. Each word spoken felt like a balm, healing the wounds that had festered for so long. As they revealed their vulnerabilities, Sarah felt the walls between them crumbling, replaced by a growing sense of connection and understanding. By the end of their first check-in, both felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. They began to share more positive moments too, small joys from their days that they had overlooked in the chaos of life. Mark talked about a funny incident at work, and Sarah couldn't help but laugh, picturing him in those scenarios. The warmth between them began to grow, rekindling the spark that had dimmed over time. "Can we make this a regular thing?" Mark asked, his eyes brightening. "I think it really helps to talk like this." "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I want to keep this going, to keep working on us." As the days turned into weeks, their routine became a source of comfort. They looked forward to their check-ins, using them as a touchstone for their relationship. Slowly but surely, they began to feel more connected, more like partners in the journey of life. And so, with every shared conversation, They took one more step down the road to healing. Each moment was a reminder that love was not just a feeling, but a choice. A choice they were both willing to make, day by day. As the weeks passed, Sarah and Mark continued their commitment to open communication, and their check-in sessions became an integral part of their routine. The atmosphere in their home began to shift. Laughter returned to the kitchen, and the tension that had once clouded their interactions gradually dissipated. They rediscovered the joy of being together. And with each conversation, they peeled back the layers of their relationship, revealing a deeper understanding of each other. One sunny Saturday morning, Sarah woke up with a sense of excitement bubbling inside her. Today was the day she had decided to surprise Mark and the kids with a family outing. A day at the local amusement park. She had been planning it for weeks, carefully coordinating schedules and sneaking around to keep it a secret. The thought of seeing her children's faces light up with joy filled her with a sense of anticipation. She wanted to create new memories, ones filled with laughter and joy. And she hoped this outing would be a step toward rekindling their family bond. As the aroma of pancakes wafted through the house, Sarah called out to the kids with a cheerful voice, "Chloe, Ethan, breakfast is ready." The sound of their footsteps echoed down the hallway, and in moments they were at the table, eyes wide with anticipation. "Mom, what's the special occasion?" Chloe asked, eyeing the stack of pancakes topped with fresh strawberries and whipped cream, her curiosity evident. "Just a little surprise for you both," Sarah said, grinning as she poured syrup over the warm pancakes. "After breakfast, we're going to the amusement park." "Yay!" Ethan shouted, pumping his fists in the air. "This is going to be awesome." "Wait, are you serious?" Mark asked, stepping into the kitchen with a look of disbelief. "The amusement park? Today?" "Absolutely. I thought it would be a great way for us to spend the day together as a family," Sarah replied, her heart racing with excitement at the thought of their day ahead. "I've already packed a picnic, and we can enjoy some rides and games." Mark exchanged glances with the kids, a smile creeping onto his face as he realized how much fun they were about to have. "That sounds amazing, but I didn't think we could fit something like this into our schedule right now." "Exactly," Sarah said, her enthusiasm infectious. "Life is too short to keep waiting for the perfect moment. Let's make some memories today." As they devoured their pancakes, the chatter filled the room, laughter punctuating their conversation. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest as she watched Mark engage with the kids, a lightness in his demeanor that had been missing for so long. It was as if the shared joy of the day ahead was lifting their spirits, reminding them of the happiness they could still find together. Once breakfast was finished, they gathered their things, sunscreen, hats, and a bag filled with snacks. Sarah felt a sense of exhilaration as they piled into the car, the anticipation for the day ahead palpable in the air. Mark drove, and as the scenery whizzed past, they played games in the car, singing along to their favorite songs and teasing each other about who would win the most rides. Ethan, ever the jokester, led a spirited round of car karaoke, belting out lyrics with exaggerated enthusiasm, which had everyone in stitches. Upon arriving at the amusement park, the sounds of laughter and excitement enveloped them. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the air, and Sarah felt a rush of nostalgia wash over her. Memories of her own childhood visits to amusement parks flooded her mind. Running around with friends, the thrill of roller coasters, and the sweet taste of cotton candy melting on her tongue. She hoped to create similar joyful memories for her children, moments they would carry with them long after the day ended. First stop the Ferris wheel. Ethan exclaimed, pointing towards the towering structure that loomed over the park, its colorful gondolas spinning slowly in the warm breeze. "Are you sure you're brave enough for that?" Mark teased, ruffling Ethan's hair with a playful grin. "Of course. I want to see everything from the top." Ethan responded, his confidence unwavering as he bounced on his feet, clearly eager for the adventure ahead. As they approached the Ferris wheel, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and nostalgia. The colors were vibrant, and the sound of laughter from the riders added to the festive atmosphere. They climbed into their gondola, and as the wheel began to turn, Sarah held her breath, watching the ground drop away beneath them. "Look at how high we are," Chloe shouted, her face illuminated with joy as she leaned over the safety bar, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is amazing." Mark wrapped an arm around Sarah, pulling her close against him. "I can't remember the last time we did something like this," he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement and warmth. "Thank you for planning this. It feels like we're finally making time for each other again." "It's my pleasure," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with happiness at the sight of her family enjoying themselves. "I wanted us to have a day where we could just focus on each other. No distractions, just us." As they reached the top, the view was breathtaking. They could see the entire park laid out before them, a tapestry of colors, sounds, and laughter. For a moment, everything felt perfect. The sun shining brightly, the breeze gently tousling their hair, and the sounds of joy filling the air. Mark leaned in closer, a smile on his face reflecting the happiness of the moment. "This is what it's all about, isn't it?" he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Yes, it is," Sarah agreed, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. "These moments remind us of what truly matters. Despite everything we've been through, we can still find happiness together." After the Ferris wheel, they moved on to the roller coasters, games, and food stands. Each ride brought more laughter and excitement, and Sarah reveled in the sounds of her family enjoying themselves. Mark seemed to let go of some of his stress, laughing along with the kids and joining in on their playful antics. It was a sight that warmed Sarah's heart, a glimpse of the man she had fallen in love with, the father who cherished his children and wanted to be part of their lives. Around lunchtime, they found a shaded picnic area to rest and enjoy the food Sarah had prepared. As they sat together on the blanket, munching on sandwiches and fruit, Sarah couldn't help but observe how relaxed Mark was. The tension in his shoulders had eased, and he was fully present with the kids, sharing stories and jokes. "Remember that time Dad tried to ride the roller coaster and ended up screaming the entire time?" Chloe giggled, her eyes sparkling with mischief, clearly enjoying the chance to tease her father. "I was not screaming. I was expressing my excitement." Mark defended himself, adopting a mock serious expression that sent Ethan into fits of laughter. "Right, excitement," Ethan teased, mimicking Mark's over-the-top expressions from that day, prompting even more laughter from Sarah and Chloe. As the laughter faded, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Moments like these reminded her of the strength of their family bond, of the love that still thrived beneath the surface, waiting to be nurtured. After their picnic, they continued to explore the park, trying out games and winning prizes. Mark won a giant stuffed bear for Chloe at one of the booths, and she squealed in delight, hugging it tightly as if it were the most precious thing in the world. They took silly photos together in front of the various attractions, capturing the joy of the day, the images filled with smiles, goofy faces, and the spontaneous affection that made their family unique. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the park, Sarah found a quiet moment with Mark while the kids played nearby. She watched the way he interacted with them, his laughter ringing through the air, and her heart swelled with pride. "Thank you for being present today," she said softly, her heart full. "I know things haven't been easy, but today felt special." Mark looked at her, his expression sincere, and for a moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. It really did. I didn't realize how much I needed a day like this. It's easy to get caught up in the grind and forget what truly matters, he replied, his voice steady. Exactly, Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with hope. We can't lose sight of our family and the love we share. We have to keep making time for moments like this. Agreed, Mark said, his voice firm and resolute. I want to keep this going. I want us to keep finding joy together, no matter what life throws at us. As they stood together, watching their children laugh and run, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope for their future. She realized that while challenges would always be a part of life, they had the power to navigate them together, hand in hand, as a unified family. As they made their way back to the car, the sky painted with hues of pink and orange, Sarah felt a profound sense of gratitude. Today had been a celebration of their family, a reminder that even in the midst of struggles, laughter and love could flourish. They were rekindling the spark that had first brought them together, and she felt excited about what lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Mark made a conscious effort to prioritize their family time. They explored new activities together, from hiking in nearby parks to having themed movie nights at home, complete with popcorn and homemade pizza. Each experience brought them closer together, strengthening their bond and reminding them of the love that had initially drawn them to each other. And while they still faced challenges, they approached them with a renewed sense of partnership. Their check-in sessions became a safe space for sharing feelings, and they learned to navigate disagreements with compassion and understanding. They discovered that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a strength that allowed them to connect on a deeper level. As the months rolled on, Sarah could see the positive changes in Mark. He was more engaged with the kids, finding joy in the little moments. A simple game of catch in the backyard, helping Chloe with her homework, or even cooking dinner together as a family. The weight of his stress seemed to lighten as he embraced the love and support of his family. One evening, as they sat together in the living room watching a movie, Sarah caught Mark's eye. He winked at her, and for a brief moment, the world outside faded away. She felt a rush of affection, a reminder of the warmth and connection they had fought to reclaim. In that moment, she knew they were not just surviving, but thriving, rediscovering love and happiness in the ordinary moments of life. With each passing day, Sarah felt grateful for the journey they were on, a journey of growth, healing, and love. They were learning to cherish each other, to communicate openly, and to find joy in the chaos of life. They had faced their challenges head-on and emerged stronger, and Sarah was excited to see where their journey would lead them next. As summer transitioned into autumn, the vibrant colors of the leaves painted the landscape in hues of gold, orange, and red, mirroring the changes in Sarah and Mark's relationship. Their commitment to nurturing their family bond had borne fruit. Yet Sarah sensed an undercurrent of tension brewing beneath the surface, a storm on the horizon. Mark's workload had intensified, and with the changing seasons came a flurry of responsibilities that threatened to pull them back into old habits. One crisp evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over the neighborhood, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, reviewing the family calendar. School events, work commitments, and extracurricular activities filled every square, leaving little room for spontaneity or downtime. She felt a pang of anxiety as she considered how easily their newfound closeness could be overshadowed by the demands of daily life. "Hey, how was work today?" she asked as Mark walked in, his briefcase slung over one shoulder and a weary expression on his face. "Busy," he replied, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that had become all too familiar. "I had back-to-back meetings, and I'm still trying to finalize that big project for next week. It's just a lot." He sighed, dropping his briefcase on the counter with a dull thud, as if the weight of his responsibilities had become too much to bear. Sarah's heart sank at the weariness in his voice. "I know things have been hectic for you, but I wanted to talk about our schedule. With everything going on, I'm worried we're losing the time we've worked hard to build together." Mark leaned against the counter, crossing his arms defensively, a barrier she recognized all too well. "I get it. But what do you want me to do? I can't just ignore my responsibilities at work. It's not like I'm choosing to be busy." "I'm not saying that," Sarah replied, her tone gentle but firm. "I just think we need to be proactive about making time for each other. If we keep letting these things pile up, we'll end up where we started, feeling disconnected and overwhelmed." Mark looked thoughtful for a moment, but the weariness in his eyes remained. "I know you're right. It's just frustrating. I want to be there for you and the kids. But right now, work feels relentless." "I understand," Sarah said, stepping closer to him, trying to bridge the growing gap that was forming. "But we need to find a balance. Maybe we could have a family meeting this weekend to discuss how we can manage everything together." "A family meeting?" Mark chuckled lightly, but it lacked its usual warmth. "Sounds a bit formal, don't you think?" "Maybe, but it might help us all feel more involved and connected," she said, hoping to encourage him to see the value in it. "We can brainstorm ideas for how to fit in some quality time, even when things get busy." As the evening progressed, they cooked dinner together, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables and the sizzle of the skillet providing a comforting backdrop. Yet Sarah could feel the tension lingering, like an uninvited guest at their table. She wanted to address the elephant in the room, but feared pushing Mark further away, knowing how close they were to the edge of a breaking point. After dinner, the kids were winding down, and Sarah decided it was time for the family meeting. She gathered everyone in the living room, the warmth of the cozy space contrasting with the chill of uncertainty in her stomach. "Okay, everyone, I know we've been super busy lately, and I thought it would be a good idea to sit down and talk about how we can make sure we're all spending time together," Sarah began, her voice steady but laced with nervous energy. "Like a family meeting?" Ethan chimed in, his eyes wide with excitement. "Can we have snacks?" "Definitely." Sarah smiled, grateful for his enthusiasm, as it helped lighten the atmosphere. "Let's brainstorm how we can all help each other and still fit in some fun time together." Chloe, sitting cross-legged on the floor, chimed in. "Can we plan a game night? We haven't done that in ages." "Game night sounds awesome," Ethan agreed, bouncing in his seat, his excitement palpable. "And maybe we can do a movie marathon too. I want to see the new superhero movie." Mark watched as the kids shared their ideas, a small smile creeping onto his face. But Sarah noticed the subtle tension still in his posture. "Those sound like great ideas. But we also need to be realistic about our schedules," Sarah said, glancing at Mark for support. "Right," he added, finally seeming to engage more. We can look at our calendar and see what works. We should also make sure we're all on the same page about our commitments. As they discussed their schedules, Sarah felt a sense of relief that they were at least addressing the issue. However, the conversation also revealed how stretched they all were. Mark had late nights at work, Chloe had dance rehearsals, and Ethan had soccer practices. Sarah tried to keep track of everything, feeling the weight of responsibility growing heavier on her shoulders. What if we set aside one night a week as family night? Sarah suggested, her heart racing with hope. No work, no distractions, just us. We can rotate who picks the activity each week. Mark nodded, finally seeming to engage more in the conversation. That could work. If we're all committed to it, we can make it happen. Yay! Family night! Ethan cheered, pumping his fist in the air. Chloe joined in, clapping her hands, her excitement contagious, filling the room with a sense of unity and purpose. As they continued to brainstorm ideas, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. The kids were enthusiastic, and even Mark seemed to warm to the idea as they discussed potential activities. They settled on a list of games and movies, and Sarah felt the tension in the room begin to ease as laughter filled the air. A melody of joy that had been missing for too long. But even as the conversation flowed, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were still missing something. She could see the strain in Mark's eyes, the way he occasionally glanced at his phone, as if waiting for the next urgent work email to come through. She knew that while they could plan family time, they still had to confront the underlying issues that were causing their stress. That night, after all, the kids were tucked into bed. Sarah found Mark sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the television. The glow from the screen illuminated his face, but his mind seemed elsewhere, lost in thoughts that weighed heavily on him. She sat down beside him, feeling a mix of love and concern. "Hey," she said softly, nudging him gently. "You okay?" Mark sighed, leaning back against the couch. "Just tired. Work is really piling up, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm falling behind." "I understand," Sarah replied, reaching for his hand, feeling the familiar warmth of his skin against hers. "I'm proud of how hard you're working, but I'm worried about you. It feels like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders." "I feel like I am," he admitted, running a hand over his face in frustration. "It's just, sometimes I don't know how to balance it all. I want to be a good husband, a good dad, and I want to do well at work, but it feels impossible." "You don't have to do it all alone," Sarah reassured him, her heart aching for his struggles, knowing how much he cared about their family. "We're in this together. We can help each other. But you need to let me in. You don't have to carry everything by yourself." He looked at her, his eyes filled with vulnerability, and Sarah felt a pang of empathy. "I guess I've been trying to shield you all from my stress. I didn't want to burden you with my problems." "Mark, we're a team," Sarah said, her voice steady and soothing. "I want to support you, but I need you to be open with me about what you're going through. We're stronger together, remember? We've overcome so much already." Mark took a deep breath, his expression shifting as he began to open up. "You're right. I've been feeling overwhelmed, and I haven't communicated that well. I want to be the husband and father you all deserve, but it feels like I'm failing sometimes. It's hard to admit that." "Admitting it is the first step," Sarah said, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. "And it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. We all have our breaking points, and it's okay to ask for help." "I appreciate that, Sarah. I really do." Mark said, his voice sincere as he looked into her eyes, searching for reassurance. "I'll try to open up more. I just need to find a way to manage everything without feeling like I'm losing control." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling between them. But Sarah felt a flicker of hope as she realized that Mark was beginning to let down his guard. Their journey was far from over, but she believed that they were making progress. "I think we can make a plan together," she suggested gently. "We can carve out some time specifically for you to unwind. Maybe I can take the kids for a day so you can have some time to recharge." "I'd like that," he replied, a hint of gratitude in his voice. "I just need to find that balance again. It's hard to switch gears sometimes, to transition from work mode to family mode." "Let's work on it together," Sarah said, feeling a sense of determination. "We've come so far, and we can keep moving forward." As they talked late into the night, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope for their future. The storm might be looming, but together they could weather it. They were learning to communicate, to support each other, and to embrace vulnerability. It was a journey, but one she believed they could navigate hand in hand. In the days that followed, Mark began to implement small changes. He carved out time for himself, taking a few hours each week to recharge, whether it was going for a run, catching up on a favorite show, or simply sitting in silence with a good book. He found that these moments of solitude helped clear his mind and renewed his energy, allowing him to return to family time with a refreshed spirit. Family night quickly became a cherished tradition, a beacon of joy amidst their busy lives. They laughed, played games, and created lasting memories. Sarah noticed the light returning to Mark's eyes, and the warmth in their home deepened as they forged ahead, embracing the challenges together. Yet, even as they made strides, Sarah remained aware of the underlying pressures of life. Work, school, and family responsibilities were constant reminders of the balancing act they were all performing. As autumn progressed, she knew they would need to continue their efforts, to keep the lines of communication open, and to face whatever storms lay ahead with courage and resilience. One crisp Saturday morning, Sarah gathered the family for a hike in a nearby nature reserve. The vibrant fall colors surrounded them, and the fresh air invigorated their spirits. As they walked along the winding trails, they talked, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company, embracing the beauty of nature and the joy of being together. "Look at that tree," Chloe exclaimed, pointing to a massive oak with leaves that shimmered in shades of gold and crimson. "It's like it's on fire." "Let's take a picture," Ethan suggested, already positioning himself in front of the tree, ready for another family photo. As they posed together, Sarah felt a surge of gratitude for the moment. They were creating memories, capturing the essence of their family bond in a way that would last a lifetime. They were learning to embrace the beauty of imperfection and to find joy in the journey, no matter how challenging it may be. As they wrapped up their hike and headed back home, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were facing the storms together, one day at a time, and she believed that as long as they remained committed to each other, they could weather anything. In the weeks that followed, the family continued to navigate the complexities of life. But they did so with a newfound sense of unity. They made it a point to check in with each other regularly, discussing their individual stresses and triumphs, creating a safe space where everyone felt heard and valued. One evening, while preparing dinner, Sarah noticed Mark looking particularly contemplative as he stared out the window, lost in thought. She approached him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "What's on your mind?" she asked. Mark turned to her, a thoughtful expression on his face. I was just thinking about how much we've changed in the last few months. It's like we've come full circle, but there's still so much to work on. I know what you mean, Sarah replied, her heart warming at his honesty. But I also think we've made incredible progress. We're learning to communicate better, and we're more in tune with each other's needs. True, Mark conceded, a small smile breaking through. I guess I'm just afraid of what might happen when life gets chaotic again. What if we slip back into our old patterns? Then we'll just have to remind each other, Sarah said gently, squeezing his shoulder reassuringly. We've faced challenges before, and we've come out stronger. We can do it again. I want to believe that, he said, his voice filled with sincerity. I really do. But I also know I need to keep working on my own stuff, finding that balance, managing my stress. I don't want to take it out on you or the kids. And you won't, Sarah reassured him. You're already making strides. Just remember that you don't have to shoulder everything alone. I'm here to support you. Mark nodded, visibly relieved by her understanding. Thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate it. I'll keep working on it. As they wrapped up dinner and settled in for the evening, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope for their future. They were learning to navigate the storms, one day at a time, and she believed that as long as they remained committed to each other, they could weather anything that came their way.